Thank you. So thank you everyone again for coming back after a wonderful lunch. I think this is a perfect time to start a very interesting topic about, about growing your brand and with expansion and dominating it in the market. So we have seafood, we have tea, and of course, after eating, you need to take care of your skin, right? So we had some initial introductions about the panelist background, but I think I'll give this opportunity now to open up for each of the panelists to share about their company, right? First, maybe the history or the background, and of course, which markets do you currently, or did you start with and currently think that you dominate or want to dominate? So maybe we'll start with Alexander at the end.
Thanks, Rebekah. Well, first and foremost, thank you very much for the pleasure of being here today. I'm very honored to share some of my ideas, and I hope it'll be useful to you. I'm the chef. I'm a chef and the CEO of the Ubin Seafood Group, which is a homegrown family business. It was started by my father, and he's still actively involved. He's the COO, and I'm the CEO. From a very young age, I was already in the kitchen, and it was a passion of mine, which I took quite seriously. Except that I started my career actually in the practice of law. So I was practicing law for about 7.5 years with Raja and Tan, and subsequently with TSMP Law Corporation. So that's why when we were discussing certain things earlier, I was sharing the legal problems that...
You're a lawyer?
Yeah.
He has an unfair advantage.
Yeah. Okay, so don't shoot me, please. I'm not charging by the hour. So I mean, it was very interesting coming out of practice and going to the family business. But it wasn't something that was completely new. Whilst I was in practice, I took a year's sabbatical to work with the business in 2013 to 2014, and I think my time in private practice also helped me to grow my network and to understand. You get to interact with so many different clients. You get to see what the problems are from inside, and then when you run your own business, you can also troubleshoot from that perspective. So I left as a partner, heading the restructuring and insolvency department, which is now a buzzword, I guess. So if there are any debt recovery, or
not for your brands. So we'll
nothing to do with the brands. But actually, the interesting part of it is that it's the flip side of restructuring and insolvency is business rescue, reconstruction, and expansion, which is also something that we're going to talk about. And a lot of the parameters are actually the same. For someone to come in to run to rescue a company, a lot of the right boxes which need to be ticked also apply when they want to come in to invest in your brand or bring your brand overseas. So, and the due diligence checks are also pretty much, they're quite similar. So perhaps that's one area I can share more about later if it's relevant.
So Alexander, for those especially who are visiting away from outside Singapore, where is New Ubin Seafood and why, right? So it's mainly in Singapore now?
Yeah. So
Ubin is this little island of Singapore, Pulau Ubin.
So Pulau Ubin, Pulau Ubin is an island north of Singapore. It's just between Singapore and Malaysia, and it was a very popular resort spot in the 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, where people would go down there to jet ski and to parasail, primarily to jet ski and.
Hiking as well, actually.
Yeah, so on the island, yes. But the water sports were where was how the restaurant got to be famous, because the jetty was built by hand by people living on the island, right? And that's how the original Ubin Seafood started. So we got involved, or my family got involved when they moved to the mainland, and we worked with the original chef. He subsequently retired, and my dad set up New Ubin Seafood. So we're currently a brick and mortar company. We have 3 outlets, one at Chimes, one at Chongshan Park, Ramada Hotel, and most recently we opened an outlet in Tampines, in the east. We were formerly at Hillview, but that outlet closed in May when our lease ended. So still 3 outlets as for now. And insofar as expansion is concerned, or how we are thinking about things, I mean, I look at it from definitely you have to consider your domestic expansion, and are you going to do it by way of brick and mortar or not? Do you look at regional options, and if so, what is the best way to penetrate those markets, and with whom? I think that's probably the most critical. Who you are going in with, and 3, we're not limited anymore by geography per se. So, to what extent are there adjacent businesses that you can do and pursue online, where you really have the expertise from running restaurants, to expand your brand, vertically, I suppose, or horizontally, yeah.
Okay, great. So that's a great teaser for more from Alexander. So Alexander's company is a second generation, as he shared, homegrown Singapore brand. How about you? Young as you may for the introduction.
I don't think I'm that young, but young enough.
Younger.
So BP de Silva is actually probably Singapore's oldest family business. We basically started on High Street. If you know where the Parliament is today, that was actually where our shop house used to be. We started in 1872 as a jeweler, and I'm in the 5th generation now. So the business has developed and gone through many times tough challenges over the years. One of the things I like to share is, during the World War, we actually had one of our youngest managers at that time, who wasn't family, who actually dug all our gems during the World War when the Japanese came and kind of buried it under a tree. And it was actually because of one of the key actions that actually allowed our business to continue, through the war, because the Japanese would have taken our stones in jewelry. So family to us is just more than just, a family business. It's everyone who's working in the company. The business has gone on to diversify itself. So today we operate in about 6 industries. I myself studied finance. I always wanted to work in a bank because, growing up in the media, you always see these bankers and how rich they are. And I remember my dad had a good friend who was a banker, and he had all the Ferraris and stuff. And I told my dad, I want to do what he's doing.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but it didn't turn out that way. Every holiday I came back and worked for my dad. It was really understudying him and following him around. And I realized very quickly that he was handling a lot of businesses and he really needed help. And to me, no matter what people said, to me, my intention was to help my dad. And I think I finished my last paper on a Tuesday, and on Thursday I was on a flight with him to Switzerland because we were also quite involved in the watch business. So, and I've not looked back since. And how I got into tea also was not, it wasn't planned, because basically at that time we had this business in Sri Lanka. I mean, tea has been in our family for many generations. And my dad said, we have this business in Sri Lanka. I think you should stay there for 3 months. And in Sri Lanka, and I was like, I think I'll be open to that and see how it goes. And when I looked and when I spent time there, I realized how this industry was stuck like 100 years ago. Like, it was totally stuck. I mean, in Sri Lanka, there's this thing called the auction system, where all the tea is bought through an auction. And that auction is about 120 years old or something. And it's basically all the companies send 2 staff every week to buy tea over 2 days. And it's like so inefficient, but it's still there. And I realized that if you're willing to innovate this field, there's probably a lot of opportunity. So moving forward, as I spent more time with tea, I fell more and more and more in love with tea. And I told my dad, as the years, although our group is very diversified, I told my dad, I want to focus a lot more on tea. So like today, 80% of my time is spent on tea. But my dad is going to be retiring soon, and he's already spoken to me that, I'll have to take a more group sort of mindset soon. So But I'm always going to stick close to tea. But yeah.
No, I think that's great. Thank you, Rehan, because you come from a very interesting place, multi-generational, now to the fifth, starting with a love for one area of product, but